The fourth sign. Another sign of the learned man of the next world is that he has got no attraction for various kinds of food or drink, luxury in dresses, furniture, houses, but rather he adopts a moderate course in all these things, following the early sages, and he is best satisfied with the least of everything. The less is a man attracted towards such luxuries, the more he will be close to God, and the more he will be an association of learned men of the hereafter and in rank. Abdullah bin Qawas used to keep company with Hazrat Hatim Asim, and he said, "Once I was with 320 pilgrims went to Ray along with sage Hatim Asim. We had foodstuffs with us and not food. We went to a merchant who was well known for the love of the poor. We became his guests that night. He said next day to the sage Hatim, 'Have you got necessities with you? I wish now to go on to seeing an ailing theologian.' Hatim said, 'Visiting the sick is no doubt meritorious, but looking after the poor is worship. I will go along with you.' The sick man was Muhammad bin Maqatil, judge of Ray. When we came near his gate, we looked at his lofty and beautiful palace. Hatim thought for a moment and then said, 'Is this the condition of the house of a learned man?' After permission, we entered the house and found it very beautiful and spacious, with carpets spread all over the house and screens of varied colors hanging. The judge lay down on a soft mattress and a servant was standing with a fan near his bed. The merchant asked about his health, but Hatim stood silent. Being requested to sit, he did not sit and asked the judge, 'From whom have you got your learning?' He said, 'From the companions of the Apostle of God.' He said, 'From whom did the companions learn?' He said, 'From the Apostle of God.' He said, 'From whom did the Apostle of God learn?' He said, 'From Jibreel, and he learnt it from God.' Hatim asked, 'Have you found in their learnings that to God the rank of men whose palaces is high and spacious is greater?' He said, 'No.' 'Then what have you then found?' The judge said, 'I have found therein that a man who renunciates the world, turns his attention towards the next world, loves the poor, and proceeds towards the hereafter to have a greater rank near God.' Hatim said to the judge, 'Whom have you followed, the prophets or their companions, or pious men, or Fir'aun and Namrud, who erected lofty buildings with bricks? The dishonest learned man like you are fool.' Then he went away from that place." Ibn Maqatil's sickness became therefore acute, and the inhabitants of Ray came to know what passed between him and Hatim. They said to Hatim, "The palace of Tanafusi and Qazin is very lofty and spacious." Hatim went there on account of his own accord and said to Tanafusi, "May God have mercy on you. I am a foreigner, and I wish that you should teach me the elements of my religion and the particulars of ablution." Tanafusi said, "Yes, O Lord, bring me a pot of water." Then when it was brought, Tanafusi made ablution and washed every limb thrice. "This is thus," Hatim said, "I am making ablution in your presence." Then he began to wash each limb 4 times. Tanafusi said, "O Shaykh, you have been extravagant and washed your hands 4 times." Hatim said, "O glorious God, I have been extravagant for washing my hand 4 times, but you do not consider yourself extravagant when you live with all these luxuries?" Tanafusi then came to know that he had not necessarily the necessity of learning ablution from him. Thereafter he did not come out to the people for 40 days. Hatim went to Baghdad, and there Imam Ahmad went to see him and asked him, "What will ensure salvation from this world?" Hatim said, "You are not safe in this world unless you have 4 characteristics. Overlook the ignorance of man, conceal your ignorance from them, seek their good, and don't seek from them." When the sage Hatim went to Medina, some of the inhabitants of the city came to him and asked him, "O people," and he asked them, "O people, what is the name of this city?" They said, "It is the city of the Prophet of God." He said, "Where is the palace of the Prophet of God? I shall observe my prayer there." They said, "He had no palace except a small cottage wherein he rested." He asked, "Where are the palaces of his companions?" They said they had no palaces. They had only cottages in this world for rest. Hatim said, O people, this city then is the city of Fir'aun. They brought him before the governor and said, this man is a foreigner and says that this is the city of Fir'aun. The governor asked him, why do you utter this? Hatim said, don't be hasty in judgment upon me. I am a foreigner. Then he narrated the whole conversation between him and the people. Then he said, God said, you will find in the Prophet of God an excellent example. Whose example have you adopted? The example 33:21. Whose example have you adopted? Example of the Prophet or that of Fir'aun? They then left him. These were the stories of Hatim Asim. In short, use of ornamentation in permissible things is not unlawful, but it creates fondness for these things, and to give up these things at the end is becoming difficult. The Prophet did not lay stress for the renunciation of the world. It was narrated that Khalif Yahya bin Sa'id once wrote to Imam Malik bin Anas, saying, in the name of God, the most merciful, the most compassionate, and blessings on the Prophet of God, from Yahya bin Sa'id to Malik bin Anas, I have been informed that you put on fine clothes, eat delicious food, sleep on soft couches, and keep a doorkeeper at your door. You sit in the assembly of learning, and people come to you from distant places. They have taken you as Imam, and they are satisfied with your words. O Malik, fear God. Take to humility. I write to you this letter as an admonition. None has seen its content except God. Imam Malik wrote back, I have received your letter, and it has come to me as an admonition, kindness, and a sign of good conduct. May God bless you for your piety and reward you for your advice. I seek God's help. There is no power and might except by His help. We do what we have been mentioned, but beg forgiveness of God from them. For them, God said, who has made unlawful the fineries of God, which God has gifted to His servant, and clean and pure food? 732. I know certainly that abstinence from these things is better than indulging in them. Don't give up writing to me, peace be upon you. See the sense of justice with which Malik showed. He did not make the fineries of the world unlawful, but admitted that abstinence from luxuries is better. Jazakallah khair. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.